Hello all, myself Dr. Shanti Verma. In today's tutorial, I am going to discuss second part of manipulating data frames using pandas in Python programming. Let's first discuss the learning objective of this session. At the end of this session, you are able to understand tidying, rearranging and restructuring your data, pivoting, multing and stacking data frame, and identifying data frame by group. In the previous session of manipulating data frames in Python, I already discussed that Pandas data frame is a two-dimensional data structure where data is arranged in the form of row and columns. And there are three main components of data frame, that is a row, column and data. Let's again first discuss the simple data frame creation. For creating any simple data frame, you have to first import the pandas library. To importing the pandas library, you have to write import pandas as pd, where pd is the alias name. I have already created a one CSV file, that name is sales.csv, having the four columns, that is a month, eggs, salt and spam. For reading the data from the CSV file, you have to write pd.read underscore CSV. This read underscore CSV is used to read the data from the CSV file, and this index column is the month, means this is make as a primary column. For printing the data frame, you have to write this variable name data frame in your command prompt. Then you can see the output as a data that are stored in a sales.csv in the forms of row and columns. Now let's discuss how to create a Boolean series. Boolean series means true and false on the basis of some decision. So if I want to check df.salt is greater than 60. So this is the column salt. If in Jan month df.sol is greater than 60, then it gives true, otherwise it gives false. So you can see in March and April it gives true because the data in the salt column is 89 and 87 in the March and April, that is greater than 60. But in the other the value is not greater than 60, so it gives the false. Now let's discuss how to filtering with a Boolean series. For filtering in a Boolean series, you have to write this df, and under this df you have to make a condition in the form of the square braces. So you can write df dot salt is greater than 60, then it gives all the columns and rows where the values are true. So it gives the March and April and all the columns, that is eggs, salt, spam and month. When you want to assign this value in another data frame, you have to write the another data frame name. I take it enough underscore salt underscore sold, and you have to assign this value df dot salt is greater than 60. So it assign all these values in a data in another data frame, that is that name is enough underscore salt underscore sold. If you want to print, then you can write df and this attribute name, you can see the same output. Now how to combine filter. Combining means filtering means and or conditions in data frame. To if you want to use a and condition, this and symbol is used, and this and symbol is used, and if you want to use either condition means or condition, this pipe symbol is used. For example, if you want to print apply a and condition where df dot salt is greater than equals to 50 and df dot x is less than 200, then you can write this and condition in this way. You can see output where df dot salt all values is greater than equals to 50 and df dot x is all df dot x all value is less than equals to 200. Now you can also apply a OR condition in the same way. You can see these salt, in the salt column all the values are greater than equals to 50, and in df dot or in df dot x all the values are less than equals to 100. This is a OR condition and this is a AND condition. Now how data frames handles zero and null values. For that I take another data frame df2 and copy all the df data frame in that. In df2 data frame I add a one column that name is back on, having the values 0, 0, 50, 60, 70 and 80. If I want to print df2, I write df2 in the prompt. You can see that in df one column is added that name is back on, having these values. Now how to select columns with all non-zero values. To select a column with all non-zero values, you have to use .loc accessor that I already discussed in a previous session. In that, in .loc accessor, I pass here colon means all the rows, and in columns I pass df2 dot all. This df2.all selects all columns with all non-zero values. You can see that in df2 I add a one column that name is back on, but that not display in this output because this back on column has some zero values. Now how to select column with any non-zeros values. So for selecting columns with any non-zeros values, you have to write this df2.loc all the rows and in columns df2.any. This df2.any display columns having any non-zero values. So you can see that this back on column is displayed that I added in the df2 data frame having some zero values. Now how to select columns with and without any null values or NaN values. For selecting columns with NaN values, you can write df.loc, then this all rows, and to selecting with null values you have to write df.isNull.any. This df.isNull.any selects a column having the null values. You can see in the output this salt column have one NaN values that associated with the May column. So it display display a column salt having the null values. For selecting a column without any null values, you have to use df.isNull. In place of df.isNull, you have to write df.notNull.all. This df.notNull.all display the column having having without any NaN values. So you can see this salt column is not displayed, only again spam column is displayed because salt have a null value. Now how to drop row with any NaN, because we know that if any row have a null value, so there is a problem in the calculation calculation. So mostly these NaN values can be replaced or dropped. To dropping any NaN values, you have to write df dot drop NA. This drop NA function is used to dropping null values, and you have to pass parameter how equals to NA. You can see in the output that the column that the row month may have the NaN values, so it remove this May from the data frame. Now filtering a column based on the another column, for that you have to filter a column on the basis of some another. Here I use a two columns, eggs and salt, and I filter a egg column on the basis of the salt condition. The condition is a df dot salt is greater than 55. So it display only egg columns where df dot salt is greater than 55. In the output, you can see that this March, April and June value of df dot eggs is displayed, because in that columns egg value is greater than 55. Now, how to modify a column based on the another column? To modify a column based on another column, you have to write, for example, I want to add a file in df.x where df.salt is greater than 55. So you can write df.x where df dot salt is greater than 55, and you add plus 5 in df dot x. You can see that in df dot x where df dot salt is greater than 55, this and this position, all in three positions, plus 5 is added in df dot x. Now, how the data frame we can make a vectorizer data frame methods. To make a vectorized data frame method, we use functions. For example, if I want to convert the whole data frame into a dozens unit, then I can write df dot floor divide 12. This df dot floor divide 12 divide all the data frame values by 12, so that it converted into a dozens unit. You can see these all values, eggs, salt and spam, all values divided by 12 in the output. Now also for that, for making a vectorized function, we can also use a Numpy. Numpy is a library that is used for scientific calculations, and there are various types of mathematical functions available. To import a Numpy, you can write import Numpy as NP, where NP is Elias name. And in this numpy, there is a one function that is a floor divide. So you can write np dot floor divide for using, and where you want to apply in data frame, and the value is 12, means you want to divide whole data frame by 12 to convert into a dozens unit. You can see that these all values of the data frame divided by 12 in the output. You can also use a plain Python functions for making a vectorized data frame. Here you can see that I make a one function that name is dozen, and I pass a one variable n. It returns a n divided by 12. So if I apply this df in, I want to apply in the data frame, I want to write df dot apply and this function name, that is dozens. You can see that basically all the values of the data frame divided by 12 in the output. So there are various ways to convert data frame into a vectorized data frame. You can also use a lambda function. You know that lambda is an anonymous function. So you, for applying a lambda function in a data frame, you can write df dot apply, then lambda, and lambda n equals to n divided by 12. So all the data frame values are divided by 12 as a output. Now, how to storing a transformation? For storing a transformation in means adding a column in a data frame. So if I want to add a column, that value is egg columns value that divided by the 12. So I make a one another column, that is a dozens of eggs, and I write df dozens of egg equals to df dot x dot floor divide 12. If I want to see that column is added or not, I write df. You can see here one column is added in a data frame df with values having the egg values divided by 12. Now, how to know a data frame index? If you want to know a data frame index that I make while reading a CSV file, you can write df dot index. It gives you a column that is the index column of your data frame. You can write df dot index, and this is the output. Index is a month column having the values Jan, Feb, March, April, and May. Now, how to work with a string? We can convert a string in a upper and lower form. If I want to convert the month column values in a uppercase letter, you can write this df dot index equals to df dot index dot str upper. So you can see in the output that all the month column values, which is the index column values, converted into a uppercase letter. Now, how to define column using other columns? To defining a column using other column, we have to first take another column name. For example, I take salty x, and I add this df dot salt and df dot dozens of egg value in as a output in the salty eggs. You can see that one column is added. That name is salty eggs, which is the sum of the dozens of egg values and the salt values. In this lecture, we discuss how we are using indexing, converting a data frame into a vectorized data frame. For more learning, you can refer these references. Thank you.